Hey everyone, Mike Wolf here with the continuation of the top 10 mistakes that Canadians make when investing in the United States. And this is a really big one. Number 9 is getting info from the wrong sources. And this is really going to make or break your career in many, many ways. Where you're getting your information from. If you're getting bad information and you're going to make the wrong decisions, you're going to end up with the wrong properties, you're going to end up with not taking any action. There's a whole lot of things that happen when you have misinformation. And so I'm here to kind of I want to clear out some of these misconceptions and myths and get this out of the way because, so much crap out there. And I could actually, we have 3 different things we're going to look at, but I could go on and on with a list of 100 different places where people get their information from. And it's false. And then here's the thing. These days, access to information has never been greater. You can get, online, there's so much information out there. The newspapers, the TV, everywhere you go, you're bombarded with information. Not just about real estate, but the economy in general. People's perceptions are shaped so much by the world around them. And so it's very important that you filter out and be able to distinguish between good information and bad information. And even the information I'm telling you, I want you to verify everything you hear before you act on it, because this stuff will make or break your career. So very, very important. So I'm going to start off by talking about what I would call unqualified people that are giving you opinions. So this in some ways will range from the media, because the media will quite often give you information based on, they talk to some expert, and they're basing their information on, and usually by the time you hear it, it's too late. So, and I haven't seen anywhere, for the most part, on CNN or Fox News or any of the major, I don't watch a lot of TV, but I will go on their websites and see what they're reporting, and they're always behind the times. Like right now, I'm seeing the U.S., a lot of the markets I work in are already on the upswing, and these guys are still giving bad news and saying, oh, everything's in the toilet, the U.S. isn't coming back, and this and that. There's so much negativity. Well, I'm here to tell you that the markets I work in many of the markets I work in, not all of them, but the market is coming back. We've already turned the corner. Prices are going up. By the time you actually see it on the news, it's going to be too late because you've already missed bottom. So by the time you hear something, you've already missed the boat on it. So don't rely on the media as your main source of information. More importantly, though, even worse than that, it's the lay people on the street, your next door neighbor who bought their house in 1972 that thinks they're a real estate expert because they bought their home in 1972 for $30,000 when every house on the street was $30,000. But in their mind, they got the best deal of the century. Oh, we bought it for $30,000 and now it's worth this, and now I'm qualified to give you real estate information. Well, a lot of people out there, one of the things that I hear every day is, oh, the U.S. is going down the tubes. And no matter what you think of the economy down there, no matter how bad the government screws things up or how many trillions of dollars they're printing, I can tell you that the U.S. isn't going to disappear off the face of this planet. So you're not going to open up your atlas in a few years and say, oh, well, they ran out of money, so it just disappeared. That's not going to happen. So bottom line is, no matter what the government is doing, no matter how bad things get screwed up, the bottom line is people are still making babies, they still need a place to live. As long as they still need a place to live, if you're buying properly with the right fundamentals, you can capitalize on that. These people, if they're not owning, what are they doing? They're renting. So which side of that equation do you want to be on? Do you want to be the guy who owns the house, that's collecting rent every month and making a profit, and they're giving you money every single month, month after month after month? Well, you get to ride out the wave and wait for those properties to go back to where they were. So look at the supply and demand. You take however many millions of people are getting foreclosed on that are losing their homes. They're going from being homeowners to renters. So what is that going to do? I mean, if you look at supply and demand, what is that doing to demand if you have all these people fighting over rental properties? Well, obviously that's going to cause rental prices to go up in the long term. Not only that, if you look at the homes that I'm buying anyway, and if you're buying properly, you're buying way below the replacement cost. You can't build that home for what you're paying to buy it. So what does that mean? What that means is that the builders aren't building because they can't compete. If I'm buying a house in Phoenix for $80,000 and the cost to build it is $200,000, and that's before you even take into account the land underneath it, which obviously has value as well. If you can't even build it for close to that, you can't be, how does a builder survive? So what do? They stop building. They go to, they're holding on to this vacant land that they can't afford to build on right now. So what does that mean? That means there's a housing shortage looming. So if you think the U.S. is going down the tubes, Well, in some ways it is. If you live down there and you're having a hard time finding a job and you're going from being a homeowner to a renter, in many ways for those people it would seem like, you know, things are pretty bleak and pretty bad. But guess what? As house prices get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, I guarantee you these people are going to jump into the market. And the reason they're going to do that is in the markets that I deal in, it's so much cheaper to be a homeowner than a renter. You know, I buy a house for $80,000. If I were to finance at 100%, which I'm not saying I could, but if I did, you know, my payments on that house are going to be, what, $400 a month, taxes in, and these people are renting off me for $800, $900, $1,000. So even if they didn't think that real estate was ever going to appreciate, which I believe they do because they see how cheap it is compared to what they used to pay for these homes, but even if they were scared on that side of things, the fact that they could go from paying $1,000 a month to be a renter to $400 a month to being an owner is just a no-brainer. If you can save yourself $600 every month, you're going to do it. So these people are going to eventually jump in, and that's going to cause appreciation as a whole. That's a whole course in itself, and I'm going to probably do down the road, is talking about why the U.S. is going to come back as far as real estate goes. But in any case, the bottom line is, if these homes never went up a dime, if you paid $80,000 today for a house in Phoenix, and in 10 years from now, it's still worth $80,000. Well, if you're buying properly and it's giving you, let's say after your expenses, let's say you're left with $800 every single month. You're making $9,600 a year. Well, you're doing pretty good. You're making $9,600 a year times 10. That's $96,000 over the 10 years you've owned the home, and we haven't seen a dime of appreciation in that example I just gave you, or even if it goes down. As long as it's giving you that rent every month, you're laughing. And so that's some of the due diligence you have to do before you buy, is make sure it's rentable. So anyway, don't listen to unqualified people. Then, to make things more complicated, we're also getting American experts coming up to Canada and giving advice. And I'm not criticizing Americans, I'm not criticizing, I'm not saying these people are even being malicious, but all they, let me give you an example. In Calgary here, where I live, we get a lot of people, a lot of realtors that come up from Phoenix. And they're having a hard time finding people that live in Phoenix to buy their home. So what are they doing? They're going for the low-hanging fruit, and that's us Canadians. So they're coming up here, giving seminars. These seminars focus largely on lifestyle, so showing people golfing in the desert, in the winter, and, you know, playing tennis and whatever. They're selling the lifestyle, and that's great. And the most common question that I hear at these seminars when I attend them, and at my own seminars, is, well, how does the taxation work? For example, so these Americans, what they've been trained to teach you is what works for Americans, for their American clients. So 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you to set up an LLC. And I'm not going to go into details as to why that's a really bad idea for Canadians for the most part. But I will tell you that you're going to pay a lot more tax than you have to. You're also not going to be able to take advantage of certain things like what's called the 1031 exchange. It allows you to defer the capital gains. There's a whole lot of benefits if you're set up properly that you can't take advantage of. So if you went to one of these seminars and the realtor in front of the room says, oh, everybody needs an LLC, well, once again, he's not trying to steer you wrong. He's just giving you what he knows, and all he knows is how to deal with Americans. So get somebody who's an expert on what you're trying to achieve. And what I mean by that is somebody who's Canadian, who's been through the process, that knows how the taxation works at the end of the day. So make sure you have the right people giving you that information. An American realtor is not qualified to give you that information, nor am I for that matter. I'm not an accountant. I'm just telling you what works for me. So don't take what I say as a gospel truth. Verify it. But if you verify it, you're going to find that one, it's not one size fits all. So you're not going to go to an accountant and say, oh, I set everybody up with this structure. If you get that, run and look for a different accountant. But go to the people that are qualified to give you that information. So once again, these people aren't necessarily trying to rip you off and steer you wrong. They don't benefit if you pay too much tax. But they're trying to make a sale. Their only job is to sell more of their MLS properties. And that's fine. But in my opinion, they should be more well-versed on the issues that are going to face us as Canadians. So the third and possibly most dangerous source of misinformation, unfortunately, is gurus. And you get these people that they're in the seminar industry. And I do seminars as well. If you've ever seen me speak live, you know that it's not a big sales pitch. I'm not trying to sell you a whole lot of stuff. I'm there to inform, build credibility with you, show you that I know what I'm doing. And then if you want to take it further, I'm more than happy to help you. I have different programs. I can, different ways to teach you. They're all affordable. And I want your real estate to be the most expensive thing you purchase, not your training on how to buy the real estate. So you get some of these gurus, and not to criticize, well, I guess I will criticize them actually. A lot of these people, what they do is they say, hey, there's an opportunity out there. There's a lot of Canadians wanting to invest in the United States. So they're dangling that carrot over your head, knowing that you want to get to these deals, and they're in their mind, the only things, they're there to help you to get that dangling carrot. So they're coming up with a program as quick as possible, and their job is to sell you, and they're going to tell you whatever they have to before they have your money to basically entice you to buy in the U.S. And so they're going to tell you about all these flips you're going to do and how you're going to make millions and millions of dollars. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. And so be really, really careful how much you're spending to get your information. If you're spending, $30,000 or $60,000 or $100,000 to get information, and quite often this information isn't even accurate. We'll go into that in a minute. You're spending more than in a lot of cases what you're going to spend on that real estate. And you may have gone into their seminar thinking, oh, I'm just going to buy one property, so I don't mind if I pay $1,000 for some information. Well, that'll save me a big learning curve, and that's great. Getting educated is great. However, when you go to these $1,000 sessions, that's where they really try and push into something you didn't even come there to do. They're going to say, oh, well, you don't want to buy one vacation home. Instead, you want to learn how to flip properties, and every time you flip a property, you're going to make X amount of dollars. Well, when you have people enticing you and saying, oh, well, if you do one flip, you're going to be able to pay for a really overpriced course, you get excited. Be really careful. Go home and think about things. They're going to always say, oh, it's limited time, and there's a scarcity. The seminar industry is the closest thing to Hollywood you're ever going to see. So just be really careful where you're getting your information from, because even though they charge you a lot of money, doesn't mean they're even giving you proper information. A lot of these people are pretending they've done X amount of deals, and they do it every day, and they're really in the seminar industry. So myself, anybody who knows me knows I'm always traveling back and forth to the U.S., and it's not to give seminars, it's to actually acquire properties, sell properties, make contacts, build power teams. That's what I do on a day-to-day basis. I love to teach. I love to help other people, but my main bread and butter comes from the real estate. I don't need to take $100,000 from you to give you information. So be really careful, because a lot of these guys, we were talking over here about the American experts giving bad tax information. Well, these guys who are taking a lot of money from you, in a lot of cases are giving you bad tax information. They're saying, oh, well, we talked to our expert accountants and they came up with this solution. Once again, if it's a one-size-fits-all solution, I can tell you right now, run, because at the end of the day, if you're flipping properties, that's going to get taxed much differently than if you're buying to hold properties. Passive income is taxed at a much higher rate. If you're traveling to the U.S. a lot, you're going to have different expenses. If you're high income, if you have a lot of assets, depending on your age, or you're getting close to retirement, you have to deal with a whole bunch of other issues. If you're going to have a whole bunch of assets when you pass away, estate tax in the U.S. is huge. So if you're getting this one-size-fits-all solution, if you're 70 years old and you have the same tax setup that I have, and I'm going around the States all the time and flipping properties, and you're owning apartment buildings, and you have the same tax structure as me, there's something very wrong with that. So be very careful where you get your information from. Make sure it's a credible source, and don't pay ridiculous amounts of money for this information. It's available to you for much less, free. And once again, verify what you learn. But if you're spending problem people have is they spend so much money sometimes on their education and training that they just take everything they learn in that training as the gospel truth. They try and justify why they spent that money. So in their mind, oh, well, I'm going to save it on somewhere down the road on what I learned. Well, the bottom line is, a lot of cases that's not happening. So just be very careful. Verify what you learn no matter what the source, whether it be from me or your next door neighbor or the media or these Americans coming up here. Get the right people on your team that can give you the proper information. It'll save you so much hassle, so much time, so much money. So that's all I want to say for now. I could go on all day on this topic for sure. I'm not going to. I'm going to let you guys go back to what you're doing. But thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.